Did you know that 70% of people spend more time complaining than acting? But what if your words could be the solution for someone? Today, we're going to show how a simple gesture of support can change lives, including your own. Get ready for a story that will make you rethink your attitudes. Shall we begin?
If someone expresses discontent, offer support and avoid increasing their burden. Focus on the positive aspects of life, highlighting what is good and charming. Do not add your own complaints, but be a source of hope. Your words can alleviate the anguish of those in need, and in doing so, you will be transformed too. This is the essence of loving your neighbor, acting with empathy, even when the world seems gray. And now, listen to Apollo tell a story that illustrates this power. You will be surprised by the outcome.
Elijah, a 45-year-old supervisor at a major construction company, was always seen as difficult to deal with. His bad temper was notorious, and his complaints extended to every aspect of his life. From the chaotic traffic to tight work deadlines, through constant criticism of employees and even his breakfast. His scowling face seemed to reflect the dissatisfaction he carried within. But something happened that would change his life forever. It was a cold autumn afternoon when, during a visit to the neighborhood where he spent his childhood, Elijah ran into Ms. Abigail, a former neighbor who recognized him immediately. They started talking. As was his habit, he began listing his grievances, his complaints, and his dissatisfactions. Ms. Abigail was surprised by such bitterness and asked him, "You used to be so cheerful, boy. What happened?" With a clear look of concern and a desire to help. The question, simple but profound, made Elijah pause for a moment, as if he had been punched in the stomach. How could someone who knew him as a child perceive such a difference? This made him reflect on his life and his choices. The neighborhood, which had once been vibrant and full of life, was now marked by neglect. The pothole-ridden streets were covered with dry leaves, and the empty squares were a portrait of desolation. Children played in vacant lots, without structure, without safety. Walking through those streets, Elijah saw himself facing a mirror of his own existence. He looked at the buildings in ruins and saw his own life, a series of emotional holes, worn-out relationships, purposeless work, a routine of criticism without solutions. The sight made him feel a mix of shame and regret, but it also awakened something within him, the desire to make a difference. He felt he could use his professional experience to improve the neighborhood and, in some way, transform himself too. Elijah decided to take action. He wanted to revitalize the community, but he knew this would require more than just good intentions. With a heavy heart, he sought out the city hall and proposed a neighborhood revitalization project. He knew the process would be difficult, that he would face resistance, but he did not give up. However, when he presented the proposal to the people, the response was skeptical. "More empty promises and excitement," the residents said. The community was tired of false expectations and promises. Yes. Elijah, in a way, understood that distrust. It was at that moment that he had an important revelation. Words were not enough. To gain people's trust, he needed to act. Elijah remembered an old lesson his father always told him: action speaks louder than words. With this truth in mind, he decided to put his energy and expertise into motion. Elijah organized cleanup drives and small renovations, involving the residents, encouraging them to participate actively. He sought partnerships with local businesses, offering an opportunity for everyone to benefit from the project. It was not easy, but over time, the community began to change. Complaints and grievances gave way to smiles and conversations on the corners. The streets, once dirty and sad, gained vibrant colors, and the squares, which were once just empty spaces, became meeting points. Elijah's enthusiasm grew as the project took shape. He began inviting real estate investors, believing that his transformation could be a good business for everyone. Elijah used his personal savings to fund the campaign, committing to the neighborhood residents. "If I don't believe, who will?" he said with determination. He knew that the project would not just be a matter of money, but of real change, something that would touch everyone's lives. The community's response was impressive. Investors began to arrive, not only with resources but with a spirit of volunteerism. Local entrepreneurs started making donations. Construction companies began offering their services for free. The residents, who were once skeptical, were now the biggest defenders of the project. The neighborhood's transformation spread, and soon other communities began to be inspired by what Elijah and his group had done. The revitalization project became a reference, an example of how a person can change himself after receiving a few words to prompt a shift in his spirit. By accepting sincere observations and striving to act with diligence and integrity, he can create significant change. Elijah, who was previously seen as a simple construction supervisor, was now admired as a leader. He understood that change starts within us and that by stopping complaining, we can begin to act. Instead of complaining about life, he started doing something to improve his own reality and the reality of everyone around him. He now saw life differently. The bad temper was replaced by a genuine smile, and complaints gave way to concrete actions. The vision of his community in ruins was transformed into a symbol of overcoming and hope. Elijah's greatest lesson was not just about the power of action, but also about the importance of personal preparation. When we are willing to change, God guides us and opens doors to new opportunities. He understood that by doing his part, things happen in surprising ways. And you, what have you done with your dissatisfactions? Are you waiting for something to change, or will you act to transform your reality? The choice is yours, and the power is in your hands.
The sun shone brightly through the window of Elijah's office, and the noise of the construction machinery seemed to echo his dissatisfaction. Another routine day, another reason to grumble. Until, flipping through a Bible he found, he stopped at Philippians chapter 2 verse 14, "Do all things without grumbling or disputing." Elijah was intrigued. The Apostle Paul was calling for an inner revolution. Complaining is like watering seeds of bitterness, they grow and suffocate joy. What if, instead of criticizing the traffic, I prayed for everyone's safety? Elijah frowned. It was easy to theorize, but hard to practice. Until, the following week, he experimented, he exchanged grumbling for gratitude. And something unexpected happened, people started treating him differently. They noticed his demeanor, and even the breakfast tasted better. Complaining is human, but choosing action is divine. Elijah learned that change begins when we take control of our hearts. Ms. Abigail had a gift. Her words hurt less than a bandage and healed more than medicine. One day when she met him, she said, "You are capable, my son," unaware that those 5 words would make Elijah rethink his attitudes. Elijah read in Proverbs chapter 16 verse 24, "Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body." Thus, Ms. Abigail had planted a seed of confidence in him. Solomon did not compare kind words to honey by chance. Honey nourishes, it sweetens life. And kindness costs us little or nothing. How many times do we underestimate the power of a sincere compliment or a "thank you"? This passage became his motto. Elijah began to measure his words. Would they be honey or poison? The answer would determine his relationships. At one point Elijah thought, "Are you waiting for God to do it alone?" Remembering the passage in James chapter 2 verse 17 which says, "So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." That is, faith without works is dead. It was not enough to ask, it was necessary to act. Next, Apollo offers us a reflection on how we should be ready to change if we wish to achieve our goals.
Imagine Elijah today no longer being the man who complained about cold coffee, but the leader who serves coffee to others. His story proves that the Bible is not a book of theories, but a manual for transformation. Elijah could have kept complaining, but he chose to be part of the solution. Just like him, we all have the power to transform our surroundings. The Bible reminds us, "Whatever we sow we will also reap," Galatians 6 verse 7. Your words today can be the seed of a better tomorrow. If this video is relevant, like it, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future reflections. Your support helps us bring confidence to more people. And don't forget, in the description, you will also find a sociological focus on this video. How many times do we find ourselves on autopilot, repeating patterns that sabotage us? We complain about the government, but we don't vote. We criticize the lack of love, but we don't smile at the doorman. Try to think, what am I sowing? It's not about denying problems, but about focusing on solutions. Elijah discovered that being grateful for his job opened doors. What about you? What would be different if, for 1 week, you exchanged criticism for gratitude? The message of this video invites us to be Ms. Abigails in others' lives. A Harvard study showed that teams with positive feedback are 30% more productive. Your good morning could be the honey someone needs. Let us find a call to courage. Did Elijah experience a rebirth through a project? Faith without action is like a car without gas. Beautiful, but it won't go anywhere. The video that appears on the screen now will show you a new reflection on our daily lives. You will be surprised by the results. Thank you for being part of Strong Thinking. Together, we are building a path of growth and consciousness. See you in the next video, and remember, the world changes when we change. See you in the next video.